My daughter pulled the fire alarm during the school assembly and she exposed a bomb threat. I got a call from the principal at 10:15 in the morning saying my daughter Zoe had been suspended for pulling the fire alarm during the mandatory safety assembly. 800 students evacuated in the middle of the presentation about school security protocols, causing complete chaos. The principal said Zoe refused to explain herself and just kept repeating that everyone needed to get out of the building immediately. She'd been escorted to the office by two teachers who said she'd been hysterical, screaming at students to run as they filed out of the building. When I arrived at the school, Zoe was sitting in the office with her arms crossed, looking terrified but defiant. The principal, Mrs. Fletcher, was furious. "Your daughter disrupted an entire assembly and wasted emergency resources. The fire department is outside right now demanding to know why we pulled them away from actual emergencies. This is a serious offense that could result in expulsion." I asked Zoe why she did it. She looked at Mrs. Fletcher, then at me, and said quietly, "I found something in the auditorium bathroom before the assembly started. I tried to tell Mr. Walsh at the door, but he said I was trying to skip the presentation and made me go back to my seat." My stomach dropped. Found what? Zoe's hands were shaking. A backpack hidden behind the toilet in the last stall. It was half open and I could see wires and a phone inside. I've seen enough news to know what that looks like. I ran back to find a teacher, but Mr. Walsh wouldn't listen. He said I was being dramatic and trying to get attention. The assembly had already started and everyone was locked in the auditorium because of the new security protocols. All the doors were sealed from the outside. I didn't know what else to do. Mrs. Fletcher started to interrupt, but I held up my hand. "Let her finish." Zoe's voice cracked. I tried to tell three different adults: Mr. Walsh, Mrs. Bergen, who was standing by the emergency exit, and even Principal Fletcher when she walked past me to get to the stage. Nobody would listen to a 14-year-old kid when they had 800 students to manage. Mrs. Fletcher's face went pale. She immediately reached for her phone to call for a lockdown, but Zoe interrupted. "The backpack had a timer. That's why I pulled the alarm. I saw it counting down and there were only 8 minutes left when Mr. Walsh forced me back to my seat. I couldn't get anyone to listen, so I broke the glass and pulled it. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I watched that number go from 8 to 6 while I was trying to explain to adults who wouldn't believe me. I pulled the alarm at 4 minutes remaining." The principal grabbed her phone and called 911, explaining the situation to the dispatcher with a trembling voice. Within minutes, police and bomb squad vehicles surrounded the school. The fire department that had responded to the false alarm suddenly realized it wasn't false at all. They started clearing buildings in a 6-block radius. The bomb squad confirmed there was an active device in the bathroom exactly where Zoe described. They evacuated a 3-block radius and sent in the robot while parents began arriving in panic, trying to get to their children. I watched from behind the police barricade as my 14-year-old daughter sat in the back of an ambulance, wrapped in a blanket, giving her statement to Detective Williams. She explained every detail about finding the backpack at 9:50, trying to report it to Mr. Walsh, who dismissed her as attention-seeking, being forced back into the auditorium at 9:55, watching the timer count down while the principal droned on about emergency procedures. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. They were literally discussing school safety protocols while a bomb ticked away in the bathroom 30 feet from where everyone was sitting. Detective Williams asked why she hadn't just run out of the building herself. Zoe started crying. "Because all my friends were in there. My teachers. Everyone I know. The doors were locked from the outside because of the new safety system. If I ran, I'd be the only one who got out." The investigation moved fast. Security footage showed a man in maintenance uniform entering the school at 8:30 that morning with a backpack and leaving without it 20 minutes later. He'd walked right past the front office, waved at the secretary, even held the door for a teacher. Nobody questioned him because he was wearing a uniform stolen from the district's facilities department. The man was identified as Andrew Keller, a former student who'd been expelled 5 years earlier and had been making increasingly violent threats online about the school for months. Nobody had taken them seriously because he lived 2 states away, and they assumed he was just venting. Police found him at a gas station 40 miles outside town.